Welcome to Here We Are, Brattleboro's local talk show. I'm Wendy O'Connell, and this is a new show on BCTV. We're going to be having local folks coming on and having conversations with us. We're going to be talking about lots of different things. We're going to be inviting people of all ages, from kids to teens to adults and to elders. And we're going to be talking about how we got here, what we're doing here, what we do for fun, what gets us up in the morning, what we think, what we believe. So this is going to be an ongoing conversation with a variety of people, and we're going to be telling our stories. Really, the whole aim of Here We Are is to have a good time, to tell our stories, to listen to each other, and to connect in all of our fabulous and interesting diversity. So, again, today is one of our first shows, and we're keeping it very, very, very local today. We have on our show, our guest is Cor Trowbridge, who is the executive director here at BCTV. And I want to thank Cor for coming on the show, and especially for making the long trek from the second floor of her office to the third floor of the studio. Thanks, Cor, for coming on.
Well, welcome. Thrilled to be here. It was a rough journey all the way up the stairs.
Luckily, no snow. That's a good thing. So, I guess we'll just jump right in. You know, as I said, part of Here We Are is just getting to know each other and to hear about how we got here. And pretty much everybody has their own story. Everybody has something interesting to say, I found, about how we got here, unless we were just born here. And then it sort of goes from there. But, so how did you get here? How did you come to Brattleboro?
Well, I am from New Hampshire, so I kind of was born here, over in the Monadnock region. And people always say that you only understand your life backwards. So looking back to try and thread together how I did get here, my grandparents were the founders of Yankee Magazine. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up in that kind of media world, the media tradition as it was in the print way. And then I left home, and I ended up working for a bunch of nonprofits, basically being the volunteer coordinator. That's one of those first jobs that you get out of college, and trying to get people excited about doing things and get them to show up. And so I really got kind of steeped in that volunteer tradition. Mm-hmm. And then came back east when my kids were born, and I ended up getting a planning degree from UMass Amherst, regional planning, and I worked at Wyndham Regional for a little while, and got into the community development aspect of planning, which is not like there's land use, there's all these different kinds of planning. There's housing. Community development is kind of like where you write grants to do things like just improve various community facilities. And I also was running the bus service here in Brattleboro. So then, as a member of the planning department, I would often be on BCTV trying to explain to the select board, hey, that they had to sign this or that in order for me to submit a letter of intent to apply for this or that funding. So I got kind of into that whole world. And then my husband got a job in Boston. I went there. 4 years later, we were back. And so I needed to find another job, and this executive director of BCTV was an open position at that time. Basically, the organization needed a strong administrator, and that was my background. Mm-hmm. And I kind of had media as my hobby, photography and video as more of a personal hobby. Mm-hmm. But I had that also kind of media background from growing up in my family, basically. Mm-hmm. So I ended up getting selected for the job, and I'm here 10 plus years later. So the admin turned out to be a good fit for what the organization needed, and I learned what I needed to learn, and hired who I needed to hire for the tech side. Yeah,
it sounded like you were very well armed for this job. The background, everything seems to just funnel into what you're doing now.
Like I said, only understood backwards.
Yeah, so. That's good. At least you understand it. That's a big plus. So, so you came here in 2006, was it?
That's right.
2006. So in the course of that time, so much has happened in terms of media, in terms of communication, in terms of our world, has changed so much. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about, I think that everyone in the community knows about BCTV. We know that we have a local access channel. We know that, that the select board meetings get covered and things like that, but I don't think we have a really good overview of what public access is, and I think it's very often confused with public TV, PBS especially, and so if you can elucidate a little bit on that, I think it'd be really great.
Yeah, that is a really common question, and a common sort of mix-up is that people think that we are PBS. Public access television was founded in the 1980s, and as a response to cable companies coming in and then people losing their way of being able to be on a local channel back when there were just transmitters and you could just go to your local channel and say, hey, I want to make an announcement. So this was formed as a free speech right and as an access to the channel right for local people. And by free speech, I meant that at these local channels, people can come in and make a show and express their views, whatever they are. And as an administrator, I'm very different than the person who's the executive director of PBS, who's still making editorial decisions about what goes on the station, what are the topics that we want to cover, how long are the programs going to be, that kind of thing. I actually don't make those decisions. I make sure that the door is open for everybody who wants to put a program on our channel, no matter what their viewpoint is. And that means I have to treat the person and the program that I agree with the same as the person and the program that I don't agree with personally. So it's confusing for a lot of people who want to pitch me on ideas for stories or ideas for shows. And basically, I just turn around and say, if that's the show you want to make, then let me tell you how you can do it here at BCTV. On the flip side, you know, at PBS, there is a professional staff, tech staff there, who's going to take care of all the technical aspects of the work. And at a public access station or a community media station, those two terms are used interchangeably, you're bringing the person power. So basically, you know, if you want to make a show, you come in and learn how to use the studio, just like you did, Wendy.
Yes, that's right.
And you learn how to use the equipment. You can check out equipment, go out in the field, make a program. You can edit it at our stations, or you can edit it at home. You can make a show here in the studio. You know, all of the tools are available to you like a lending library, but the program is only going to be as good as you make it. And basically, it's my job to make sure the door is open, the policies are followed, and that the very few rules that we have, which is that it's non-commercial, the copyright is taken care of, it's not libel and slander, that those very few rules are followed.
Yeah, I know. I have to say from my own experience with this, I walked in the door sometime in June. I had this idea, and it was a little half-baked idea, and I walked in and I pitched it to Cor because I thought I was pitching a show, pitching an idea, and she said, sure, you know, and so I came back, you know, back and forth, and I have to say that it's such a remarkable thing that we have here available to us in town. People don't know about it. I had no idea. I figured I'd pitch an idea and you would, you know, there would be something that we would have to go through in order for it to be okayed. And to realize, you know, that this is public access, this is available to all of us in this community, is actually kind of mind-blowing. And it's amazing to me now to realize that not everybody is taking advantage of this in one way or another.
Well, and as you're learning, it is a little bit of work.
Yeah.
You know, people, I mean, there's plenty of stories of people coming to my office and say, people say I should be on a cooking show.
Right.
Because I'm really funny and I love to cook. When they get into the tech side of it, sometimes, even though we make it extremely simple here,
Yeah.
you know, that's more than they want to take on. So it's not just about having the talent, it's having the willingness to learn how to use the tools. And then also being, you know, organized and showing up and being consistent and getting your talent, all those kind of behind the scenes things that you don't think about when you're watching TV.
No, that's right.
You don't know what goes into it.
Yeah. It's like pretty much anything, you know.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, people who think, oh, your job looks like such a plum job, and then you find out, you know, yeah, there's so many steps involved. So that was back in 2006. Obviously, you know, you guys have rolled with so many different things, so many different changes that have been happening, both, you know, locally, in the media, and politically, and throughout the whole country, and globally, not to mention. I guess that I would imagine that you would come into all kinds of challenges and all kinds of different, I often think of any public organization. I worked in libraries, and knowing that you have many different masters and that you're answerable to so many different people, even though you've got a wide open door here, you know, you yourself have to go through many channels to get places and to have this remain a viable entity in the community. So I'm sure you have some favorite stories or some challenges that are happening, that have happened in the past or are happening now. If you, anything you'd like to share with us would be interesting.
Well, like as you say, since 2006, you know, the whole media world has changed 10,000 times over. It's changing right now while we sit here. So part of what, you know, we started to do when was try and keep up, you know, technologically. In order to remain relevant, you need to stay up with whatever is happening in terms of how people consume media and make media. So it's been my job all along to say, okay, you know, it's not enough to have our programs on cable, which is one of our main purposes, but also needs to be online so that everybody in the community can see it. So, you know, we launched a website and BrattleboroTV.org. And so all of our programming is online. We put everything on YouTube so that it's available where people are looking for videos. And those videos are adaptive. So whatever speed that you have of your connection and whatever device you have, it's going to adapt to that and how it's supposed to look. So that was really important to us, and we kind of keep reinventing that all the time. We have a relationship with our cable providers, and interestingly enough, in Vermont, there is a kind of statewide contract that actually governs what cable providers need to provide in terms of public access support.
And that's unusual for Vermont?
It's unusual for United States.
For the United States. So Vermont is, once again, Vermont is unusual in this, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're going our own way in some way?
That's right.
So what is that way?
That's right. So Comcast and other utilities have to negotiate what's called a certificate of public good every 11 years with what used to be called the Public Service Board is now called the Public Utilities Commission. I'm going to try not to use too many acronyms.
Acronyms can,
and that is a certificate of public good, just has to be issued, and then you can go about your business. And that contains things like line extensions, you know, what towns do we want you to go into, the state, quality, how to customer service, you know, how does that run, that kind of thing. Trying to basically protect the consumer. And so there is a whole chapter in the Certificate of Public Good that cable providers have to negotiate with the state that's about public access television, community television. And that is directly impacts what we can and cannot do. And recently, and people may be seeing this in the news, there was a renewal of the Certificate of Public Good, which I'm just going to come out and say CPG.
Okay.
Sorry, guys,
CPG.
for the acronym, but I'm going to say that. is that the recent CPG renewal for Comcast, the state sided with public access stations like BCTVs to saying that our local programs need to be on the interactive program guide, where everybody looks for their programming. This is just the place where you go to DVR your show, where you go to find out what's on, what's it about. It's basically how you manage your cable
And this is
subscription.
online. This is online.
This is on cable.
Yep, okay, on cable.
And so if you looked at a cable guide, you would see for all the channels, this program, that program, they're coming at this time. But for our channels, 8 and 10, you would just say, it would just be a long line that says local. So you can't really DVR that, you can't find out more information, you can't search your guide for Brattleboro Select Board and have that come up, even though it's on, right?
Wow. Yeah.
So BCTV and other public access stations in Vermont, of which there are 25, successfully argued with the Public Utilities Commission that this should be mandated, that our channels should be treated the same as every other channel. And the other point that we made was that, high definition channels are what's expected these days.
Right.
All our programs are produced in high definition and should be seen that way. Many people are missing our programs because they have their smart TVs set to only find HD channels, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that was supported. And Comcast has decided to fight that ruling. So that is just escalating now, and people may be hearing about it and seeing about it. There is a petition that you can sign to support the ruling, and I'll have that up on our website for people to click on.
My question as you're talking is, does this have anything to do with net neutrality?
Not directly.
Okay.
Not directly. Net neutrality is more like, if we didn't have net neutrality, the traffic to our website might not be go as easily, or to our video on demand as to somewhere else, to Netflix,
Okay.
something like that.
Okay. So it's not necessarily something that could escalate in that kind of way.
Well, it would be another way of public access programming being kind of put in a digital Siberia, as they call it.
Right, right. And that's sort of my question,
way.
here we have, it started, you said in the 80s? Public access
Yes,
TV.
and BCTV is actually the oldest public access station in the state, and founded in 1976 here in Brattleboro.
That's pretty great.
So we just celebrated our 40th anniversary
That's
last
pretty
year.
great. Yeah, everybody should know that.
Yeah, they should.
They should know that. They should know it. And so since that time, there has been this this avenue for free speech and for civil discourse in the community, and the fact of anything, I guess, challenging that is a little bit concerning. And I understand that this has gone a little bit beyond the state.
Actually, Comcast is challenging the state's right to make this ruling.
Right.
So they're challenging it, yes. They're going to be challenging it in federal court.
In federal court, okay. So that makes it kind of a big deal.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And this is very new.
It is something that the Comcast just filed a couple of days ago.
Okay. And so I think that, in a minute maybe we can talk about what people can do about it. What is BCTV doing right now in relation to that?
I, as an executive director,
It's on you.
I am participating in strategizing along with the rest of the Vermont Access Network members about what our response will be. How much would we participate in this lawsuit if we could?
So you've got a good community of people.
Excellent.
That's really
Excellent.
wonderful.
Vermont's very fortunate to have such a strong advocacy for community media.
Yep. I wonder if that's unusual.
Yes. I mean, I think Massachusetts also strong. And I mean, there are excellent media centers across the country, excellent. But the statewide support for it varies.
So, again, I think that this kind of information, I mean, here we are in a media studio right now, broadcasting. And for that information to go out to the community, knowing that, this is yet another place where freedom of speech is, as I said before, being challenged. So how do we, as individuals in this community respond to that? What can we do? You mentioned a petition, but where is this petition and how would people go about signing it?
Yes, well, I'm just going to quickly go to our website here so I can show people around.
Yes, that's why we have our monitor back here so that you can see.
Yeah, so just quickly going to the homepage at brattleboro.tv, which is a new URL that we launched yesterday.
Oh, wow.
We have this media slider here in the on the top, and I'll put the petition up here. I haven't done it yet.
So people can go right to the site,
and it'll be one of these big sliders. Just to introduce the site a little bit more. This tells you what's next up on our channels, Channel 8 and 10. And then we have our latest shows. So our news show, Green Mountain Mornings Tonight. And then the Newfane Select Board, the Jamaica Select Board, Guilford Select Board. Season 1, Episode 4 of the World Fusion Show.
Great.
And St. Michael's Catholic Church Mass from this Sunday. And then down here, we've got our various series that people may have heard of. It Happens in Brattleboro, Healthcare Matters, and Energy Week. So these are kind of our series that have come up pretty regularly, and your series will be here too.
Yep, here we are. We'll soon be there.
Yeah, and then at the bottom, this is sort of meetings that we cover. Again, all the select board meetings and some other municipal meetings for the towns that we serve.
And for some people, this is the only way they really get to participate in some of the things like the board meetings.
That's true. That the reason that we provide gavel-to-gavel coverage is so that people can watch the whole meeting and draw their own conclusions. We do try and make it as easy as possible. We provide clickable agendas so that if you're interested in a certain topic, you could just click right to that and start listening. We don't present an editorial view of what happened at the meeting. We let you attend the meeting your own way. Draw your own conclusions.
Which actually, I think is a great time to look at the mission statement. You know, we were talking about this
back to
earlier.
that.
And you know, when I was preparing some questions, and one of the things was the difference between public access television and public PBS. I think that the mission statement is really elucidating on that.
So our mission is to promote civic engagement and transparency, and to empower community members to share their knowledge, views, and creativity without prejudice. Without prejudice refers to what I was talking about before, which is that there is no one view of the station, and that anybody who wants to make a program for BCTV can. It basically means that whatever you're seeing on the channel is a reflection of who uses the channel. So if it was only religious services, if it was only churches that wanted to use BCTV to talk about their views, that's all that would be on the channel. You know, I think that tells people a little bit about why that statement without prejudice is in there.
Yeah. And also to see that the range of shows has grown over the years as well, the different variety of shows.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You know, as producers come and go. I was just looking at some figures before I got here, and we do create 1,200 hours of local programming per year. And
that's pretty good.
It
right?
is. It is quite a bit.
Yeah.
And you know, it's 100 hours a month, that kind of thing.
That was easy math. I like that.
That's why I use that figure. And our Channel 8 is basically for general interest programming, and Channel 10 is for government meetings and education programs such as BUHS TV.
Great.
So at that school, for instance, they have a TV production class, and twice a week we air their news show.
That's so great.
Which is, you know, sometimes hilarious. Kids standing in front of the green screen with a green shirt on, so their disembodied head telling the temperature. But also can be very serious and provide great footage of like the track meet or anything that they want to cover.
And their points of view as well, which is really exciting. Yeah, that's great.
And we cover the graduations of our regional high schools. And those all go on Channel 10. And Channel 8 can be things that are very short, or very long, or anywhere in between, regular series, such as this one.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's great. And I think another point, and I think we've kind of mentioned this, but folks who don't have computers, I don't know how well known this is, but you can go to the local library and they have public access computers there. So you can go on a computer and watch any show you want, tune into BCTV. So that is also available to folks.
Yes, and again, it's Brattleboro.tv.
Brattleboro.tv.
It's just fun to say.
Brattleboro.tv, yeah. It's new and exciting. And so I guess one thing, again, with all of this, I just love the idea that, you know, it's public TV, it's open to anybody, and widening that information, you know, so that more and more people know about it, not only for viewing different kinds of shows, but also producing. I mean, it's really cool to be in a studio and to be talking to people and having conversations and getting the word out about various things that are going on in the community and inside people's heads. So, and I think in terms of what you were talking about with Comcast and all that's going on with that right now, you know, for listeners, you know, again, it's about being informed. It's about signing petitions, writing letters to the editor, which I heard recently in terms of even our government in Vermont and Washington, that sometimes the most effective way of getting the word out and your opinion heard is letters to the editor. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a quick and easy, pretty easy thing to do. I think some people might even still be using typewriters, which is just fine, however you can do it. And this is a chance. I mean, I think that this seems to be a real opportunity, you know, for people to really, once again, you know, say, this is freedom of speech that we're talking about.
If you don't have a station like BCTV's or these other 25 stations in Vermont, no one is going to be filming the select board meeting.
That's right.
In its entirety.
That's
Nobody
right.
is going to step up and say, I just think this is important. Nobody is going to say, hey, if you want to make a show and share your incredible expertise about green energy or whatever it is, and put it on YouTube for the whole world to benefit from. Nobody else is going to do that.
Yeah.
There are a lot of ways of getting online and creating videos with your phones and all of that, and we're trying to create a supportive environment to do that for people who want to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
But we also are a network of neighbors.
Right. Right.
We are the folks in Jamaica
Yeah.
are part of our community.
Yeah.
Even though it's a 30-minute drive, Brattleboro is a hub for these towns. And so we're showing that network and being a network for
And
the
broadcasting out to the wider community.
Right.
I mean, to me, that's just sort of like a great fact and metaphor about this, you know, this is how we're communicating. Thank you, Cor. This was great.
And
it was great to
I
get
did
this
not get too much into the weeds on
you
that
didn't
whole
get
thing.
into the weeds
There
at
you
all.
go.
No, I'd say we stayed on shore where we were dry and we're able to get some information out there. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so glad to have you in the audience. Whoever you are, just keep tuning in. It's wonderful to be able to be doing this show. And we'd love to hear from you. You can get in touch on the website. You can get in touch through Facebook. Soon, hopefully, there will be a Here We Are Gmail that you can also get in touch with me directly if you have an idea about a show or people you think should be on, or if you yourself want to come on and talk about something. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much for joining us for Here We Are.